Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and explain advanced filtering. So basically, I already explained what a filter is and how it works. However, we're going to be going more in depth here. So what I have is a scenario that is starting with a Google Sheets module. So it gets a range of values from a Google Sheet, particularly this one here that is filled with different random data types. So we have names, emails, dates, and phone numbers, and it sorts them. So through the use of filters, what I can do is I can sort each of these data types into the corresponding modules. So I have one module for emails, I have another module for names, I have a third module for phone numbers, and my final module for dates, right? And the way that I sort through them is for emails. Email addresses are always going to have an @ sign in them. And so for the filter I just have it so that the random column of the Google Sheet has a text operator that is contains, right? So make sure that random contains, it'll check to see if the data within the random column has any @ signs. And you'll see that there are two, and these are of course email addresses. And so what this is going to do is this is going to filter the email addresses so that they don't go here, they don't go here, they don't go here, they go here, right? And the way that I also have that set up is so that all of these other ones do not allow any text with @ signs in them. So you'll see right here, the very first one, it checks to see if the random data, the data in random column, does not contain an @ sign. Once again here, it'll be random does not contain @ sign. And again, this one just makes sure that it contains a slash. And since none of the email addresses are going to have a slash in them, it's not possible. I don't have to put an @ sign there to filter out the emails because they're just not going to go here regardless, right? So now you can see that how basically the dates organization works. It just checks to see if the random data type has a slash in it. And I'll go here and just to make sure it'll be two different values that have the slash in them. So those are of course dates. Typically you won't find slashes in names and email addresses, so I don't have to worry about that. And as far as phone numbers go, you won't see them in phone numbers either. And so that's why I only have just the one filter condition for slashes for the dates here. And so for this is for phone numbers. So a few different things you can do because phone numbers vary and the data types of phone numbers vary. Sometimes they'll have parentheses. And so what you can do is filter it to make sure that there are only parentheses involved or parentheses in the data that you want to sort through. However, because sometimes there are no parentheses and it's pretty common to see them in just the 334 format, I'm just going to make sure that it has the dashes, right? And so if I go here and I go to my filter for phone numbers, you can see that it makes sure that it checks and has the dashes. And now email addresses can also have dashes. And so what I want to do is make sure that it does not have the @ sign. So that will make sure that it doesn't select any email addresses through. That's how I kind of prevent the two from overlapping. And then I also make sure that it does not contain any slashes because that's for dates as well. And lastly, for I believe this is names, it just checks to make sure that it does not have an @ sign, does not have a dash, and does not have a slash. And if it does not have those three, it is most likely just text, which will be a name. Now, of course, there are exceptions to this rule. Sometimes there will be phone numbers that are just straight out phone numbers. So that'll be maybe instead of 333-444-5555, it could just be 333-444-5555 without the dashes. And in that case, you may not be able to filter out that sort of data. And I can try and show you guys what that will look like. So if I go here and I look at the different operators, right, it's important to understand how operators work. You'll see that there isn't necessarily anything that you can use to filter out specifically numbers, right? Numbers versus text. Now, there is a long way to do it, in which case what you'll have to do is just go from 0 through 9, and you'll have to make sure that it contains a 0 or a 1 or a 2. However, of course, that will not filter out email addresses that have numbers in them, right? Or at least it'll be able to distinguish between phone numbers and just names and whatnot. So if you have a phone number that does not have any dashes and you have names, phone numbers are always going to have a number between 0 and 9. And so what you can do is set up a filter that has the containments of 0 or 1 or 2 or 3 and so on. And so I'm going to go ahead and run this automation. And you can see that each of the data types went to their respective modules. So if I go to this first one, email Joe Schmo went through, and then email Randy Posh went through, and nothing else came through, which is good, right? For the second one, you can check operation 2 and operation 1. Josh Klein went through and Amy Teal went through, which is good because this is for the names module, so that's great. For the third one, we have phone numbers, and so both phone numbers went through, starting with 333 and starting with 888, which is fantastic. And finally, the last one, which is for dates, both dates went through because they contain slashes. And that is a quick and brief overview of advanced filtering.